The South Australian Screen Awards are on next weekend at the Mercury Cinema, showcasing and recognising the brilliant work of local filmmakers across the state. Allison Chhorn is primarily a visual artist, but she's been getting into filmmaking lately. She's the producer and editor of Stanley's Mouth, and she joins me in studio now to tell me more about it. Thanks for joining me, Allison.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. Congratulations on making it as a finalist in the Screen Awards.
Yeah, it's a really exciting nomination, especially for an experimental film like this.
Yeah, so tell me a bit about it and what makes it experimental.
I think the first experimental thing is just the aspect ratio, that it's a vertical film. It was shot in 9:16, so the camera was turned on its side, and that's primarily what makes it experimental.
Yeah, what made you decide to do that?
Well, Mike, the director, had started the 916 Film Festival, which commissioned all vertical films, and that just naturally progressed into this feature film.
What do you think are the advantages of filming that way instead of horizontally?
Well, firstly, I think it perfectly frames the body, so that's just a very great way to follow a character, especially for a narrative film. So, yeah, that was the main thing.
Yeah, cool. And I suppose we're seeing that more and more these days with people whipping out their iPhones.
Yeah.
What kind of camera did you use?
Mike just had this basic camcorder, so it was just a very easy documentary type camera.
Yeah, cool. So tell me about the story and what it explores.
The film is about a young 18-year-old guy, kind of between childhood and adulthood, and he kind of experiences things for the first time, and I think that time is a very intense and emotional time to be having, so it's the film kind of explores all those intense and emotional feelings you have, when you're that age.
Yeah, and it's not only coming of age but also coming out, right?
Yeah, I think the gay Christian themes are kind of very obvious, but I think those elements are just a part of his life. They're not really
Oh, that's
conflicted.
not the focus.
Well, they're part of his life, but I don't think it's the main focus. I think the main focus is just being young and, yeah.
Yeah, right. And the film was primarily shot in just 2 weeks. Was this quite an intense period?
Yeah, the shooting was quite intense every day. I think Stan was in all the scenes, Stanley Browning, the actor. But then editing took like 10 months. So that was also another intense period, but over a longer period of time.
And were you doing all the editing yourself?
No, we had a few other people on board, but I think I was the main editor and Mike also edited. Mike, the director, we constantly collaborated, so that was a very hands-on experience.
Yeah, and what do you think was the most rewarding part of this whole experience?
I think just learning so much, all the mistakes, all the experimentation. I think that's the only way to do things is just by, to learn things is just by doing things.
Very true. I'm speaking with filmmaker and artist Allison Chhorn. When did you start dabbling with filmmaking?
I think around 2 years ago, I started going to the video shop that Mike was running, and I also submitted a film to their festival, and I just really got into cinema and filmmaking that way.
And who have been some inspirations of yours in terms of filmmakers?
I really love the films of Denis, a French filmmaker. I really love her film Beaucheret, and there's the late great Chantelle Ackerman, who I just really admire and love, and their works kind of speak through pure imagery and sound, and that's just really what gets to me. So I really love their works.
The sort of thing of showing and not telling.
Yeah.
What do you think it is about French cinema that's so wonderful? I really love a lot of French films.
I think it's just their sensibility and, the pure poetry within everything. So
yeah. Oh, that's awesome. And what are some things that you want to explore and kind of experiment with in your time as a filmmaker?
Yeah, just along those lines about saying something through pure imagery and sound, finding compositions and textures and kind of that this very visual arts perspective of saying something through a visual and oral medium.
Mm. Yeah, I suppose as a visual artist and painter, you must have a bit of a different angle on filmmaking, right?
Yeah, I think that's really helped. Just coming into filmmaking and thinking very in terms of an aesthetic and a really personal and creative one. So yeah, that's really helped.
And what kind of stuff do you like to make as a visual artist?
Well, at the moment, I'm kind of doing a lot of video essays, which is very good because it's almost like exploring things that already exist in films and then reinterpreting into something that you want to emphasize and show. I think that's a great way to explore films you love and just really putting it out there that they're saying something and that's how you can express them.
Mm. Do you have any projects on the horizon?
Yes, Mike and I are working on another vertical film. It's he calls it a Freudian stoner film, which again, very obvious themes, but I think it's about being young and being left to your own devices. So,
yeah. Oh, that sounds really intriguing.
Yeah.
And what's happening next weekend?
Next weekend will be the screening of Stanley's Mouth as a part of the Best of SASA.
Yeah. It's kind of like our version of the Oscars or something, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. And are there any films that you've got an eye on that you want to check out next weekend?
Yeah, I think all the feature films nominated will be quite interesting. Yep.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Allison.
Yeah, thank you.
Filmmaker and artist Allison Chhorn. The Best of SASA screenings will be on next Saturday and Sunday at the Mercury Cinema. You'll be able to see Allison's film Stanley's Mouth on Sunday at 7:15. And will you be releasing that in any other way after the screening?
We're kind of working on distribution deals and, possibly online, so we'll see.
Sounds great. Well, thanks again for joining me.
Yeah, thanks.